is on. Yeah. Press the button and exhale Wi-Fi. 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 Some people shouldn't be allowed to drive or vote or go out of the house.
Life is just coming up daisies, daisies coming up for me. Everything is looking mighty crazy. Daisy is the gal for me. You can keep your posies and your dahlias, your lily and your violet and your jasmine tree. My gal, she is no ordinary flora. They call her Margaret in France, wherever that may be. Life is just coming up daisies, daisies coming up for me. Everything is looking mighty crazy. That Daisy is the gal for me.
Okay. Man, what a bummer. So I've been pushing the computer pretty hard today. And yeah, I think I may have pushed it a little too hard. I've been pushing the computer a little hard today. And I think I pushed it a little too hard. And so I go to launch this. I launched the stream. Everything's all set. I'm like so excited. And then I go over to I go over and figure, well, I'll drop a little note on Facebook. Just real quick to let people know that the stream has started. And then I slide back over to this computer, the one that I stream from, and everything's just frozen. Won't respond, won't invoke Task Manager. Oh. Okay, so bear with me. I've got to open up a few things. to get ready. So I've got so much to show you here. I'm really excited. So the first thing is this welcome screen. But it's not fully because I had to start over basically. So I'm going to show you in just a second what that looks like, because it was running as the build up to the stream, like the intro basically. So I had to launch the C64 emulator. Okay, and I had that running. And then I need my source code. Okay. And then I had this in Notepad, all blown up to show it to you. Let's do Control Plus. Make it a little bigger. All right, so I can show you that here in just a second. And we're going to use the 2 iteration version. Right, so then I paste that into the emulator. And it's a basic program. I timed it out and everything to basically find out how many times do I need to make this thing loop in order to fill approximately 10 minutes of time. Because then what I can do is start the stream at about 10 till. There's usually a minute or two of negotiating the connection and all that stuff. And then YouTube actually starts streaming. And this would be displaying. So this is what the emulator looks like. And then if I just run it, it plays this, you know, animated sequence here. Can you see it? Yeah. So first it shows the agenda, and then after waiting a bit, it clears the screen and it shows what might possibly be the world's worst ASCII art. I used an online converter that you can upload an image and it'll try to convert it to ASCII art. But it's not making use of any of the special characters in Commodore 64, which would really enhance it and help. And, you know, the screen is only 40 characters by 25 characters. So you can't really get a lot of detail like you can with better ASCII art. Let's just close this over here. So that's what plays on this screen. However, when we go over to the welcome screen, you can see it's actually on the screen, like formatted. Obviously, if I planned things right, this would never actually show up. The ready prompt and all that. That's just, I made it run just a short period of time. But what I had to do here was, let's see, if we choose filters, I'll show you how I set this up at OBS. It was tricky. So let's just turn these things off one at a time so you can see what I'm starting with. So this is the input, the starting video, which is just a capture of this window, right? So then I had to crop it and apply a mask, and then I don't remember why, but to get it to fit right on the screen, I had to crop it a second time. So the mask adds like a little bit of rounding and blurring on the corners to make it fit the round edges of that screen. Then I used a 3D transform filter, which positions it, you know, at the right angle. And then this retro effects thing has like a CRT style filter, and it's real subtle, but it's just enough to give it the look of like it's coming off a CRT screen. So let me show you what that looks like in context of the welcome screen. So this is the video without any effects. And then if we apply the crop and the mask, and I had to, of course, line it up and position it on the screen as part of this. I'm not going to touch that because that took a while to hem it in. So that's with the cropping. Then the 3D transform puts it in the right place. And then retro effects makes it look like a screen. So the intro screen to the stream ended up being this. And that's what you see when you're in the build-up for the stream. And the only finishing touch is I'm creating a version of a piece of music that's kind of come to be associated with my work. But I'm using a VST instrument that emulates the sound of the SID music chip or sound chip that was part of Commodore 64. So it's this very distinct sound. If you've heard it, you know what I'm talking about. This kind of, I don't know, it's like an 8-bit type of sound. All the video games on C64 had to play their music through that chip, and it had some very distinct limitations. I think only 3 notes could be sounded at one time. So you had to be really efficient. The composers back then had to really be efficient. They would use a lot of arpeggios instead of full chords with multiple notes at once. They would use arpeggios, which is, up and down the scale. So basically, I'm basically creating a version of that song that's going to sound authentic to the period. And then I'll mix it so it's not quite so, maybe not quite so tinny on the ear, because, those sounds sounded good for their time, but they are very, very retro sounding. So something that's not going to be too annoying, a little bit of variation, and then that'll play in a loop over the intro screen as well. So I know it seems like a lot of effort to do for something, so small. But I figure if I'm going to do this streaming thing, why not do it? Why not do it well? Why not do it in a way that, that I can feel proud of, that has my personal stamp on it. And really, that's what we've been working on for the past several streams here, is different pieces of that streaming infrastructure. So another one, for example, is our privacy screen, which we can pop up whenever we're doing something where there might be some material that's questionable to YouTube that's going to display. Can pop this up while I do that real quick and then bring it back down. We built this in one of the first live streams that I did, right? And the transparency, so it shows through partially, so it's not, completely obscuring the view and annoying. So today, last stream, we were working on the end screen. And it was going to be something kind of inspired by this picture here, which is one of the promotional screenshots that's used a lot with Fallout 4. And that's this image right here, and that's just one that I just grabbed. It looks like it's probably thumbnail quality, but you get the idea of the layout. Is a single figure walking and with the dog, and kind of looking, off into a landscape. But I wanted to have something a little bit better looking landscape than this just barren wasteland. So we went into Fallout 4 together and captured several shots like this. Now, one of the things that I did in the last stream is I tried to capture a section of video for some of these scenes, because I liked the idea of maybe having it be a looping video, and the trees are moving or birds flying or whatever. And so I thought, oh hey, let's just capture that, because OBS has the ability to... I'm going to switch screens here for you just a second so I can actually show you this. Oh, you won't see it. Darn it. I can't show you the OBS screen without there being like a really horrible Hall of Mirrors effect, so I apologize. But basically, OBS is the software that I use, and you can use it to stream, which is what we're doing right now. You can also use it to capture video at very good quality. And I actually use that as my primary... You know, back in the day, it was Fraps, and then there's other utilities that people might use, but I just really like OBS because you've got a lot of control over the quality of it. And so if I need to capture game footage or something like that, I'll use OBS. Well, there's nothing that stops you from going ahead and grabbing a recording at the same time that you're streaming. And in theory, that should be able to be done. However, in practice, when I did that, it broke the stream. Like it crashed the stream and I had to restart, and it kicked everybody. It didn't kick people off the page, but basically the stream just froze up. It stopped transmitting. It happened a couple times. But I told myself at the time, well, it'll be worth it. There were, you know, I really wanted that capture and thought, it'll be worth it to go ahead and do that, to get a living version of a scene like this, for example. So I went through all that disrupted the stream. And then afterwards, I went and reviewed the footage that I'd captured. And yeah, this is what I broke the stream for. Let's see if you can notice what it is that's not quite right about this video. You notice anything that's part of that video capture that's not ideal for the background? Like my enormous head in the corner? I forgot to turn off the webcam when capturing. So all of those captures that I broke the stream for, just like this one, have my mug in the bottom right corner, so they're useless. They're useless because it's only capturing at 1080p with what we were doing then. So I can't even crop it out. It's just useless. And for what? Like, there's a little bit of noticeable movement, but it's like, okay, how much is this really worth it? So we're not going to worry about the video captures. We're just going to... We got some nice still images here. And this is going to be the backdrop for our end scene. This will be something that'll be put on the screen as like the formal goodbye for the session. So these are the ones that we've got. We've got a nice one here of looking down a street. I really like this one. I like the, you know, it's an interesting backdrop that, you know, that ship that's up in a building that you'll know what it is if you were on the last stream, or if you play Fallout 4, you know what the significance of that old ship in the building is. So this is a decent candidate. Let's see what else we got here. This is a nice shot. I like the splashes of color from these wrecked cars and the framing of it. It's good. Lighting this might be a bit of a challenge since the sun is in front. So if we want it to realistically light, then, you know, the light's going to need to be coming from the front. Is that going to make the characters, are they going to stand out enough? We'll see. I can probably make it work. I really like this shot. We've got this here, which has some nice stuff in the background, but it's not one of the stronger shots we've got to work with. I'm going to go ahead and rule this one out. All right, we've got this one here, which I love the perspective on this shot. The lines of convergence, or whatever the term is. I love that a lot. I don't like the lighting, though. It's too overcast, too gloomy, too blue. So I doubt that is the one that we're going to use. We'll save it just in case. This here, it's a nice looking shot, but it's pretty blah. The color palette is, it's just too plain. It's not interesting enough. So we're going to rule that one out. And this is pretty cool. I mean, there's some really interesting wrecked architecture of the highway and stuff like that, but you know, compared to some of the other ones we've got to work with, I feel like this one is not one of the stronger ones. So we're going to rule that one out as well. So what's that leave us with? It leaves us with 3 candidates here. Okay, and I had misgivings about this overcast one. We've got these other 2 strong ones. So I think it's going to be one of these 2. And I think this one here we can eliminate from contention. And I'm kind of leaning towards the open road. Yeah. I like that one a little bit better. Here's my thinking on that. So, with this shot, if we're communicating a goodbye and wander off kind of thing, well, this more communicates a sense of you're getting ready to enter into an area. And this is more oriented to the outside, that you're wandering off, you know, towards a lighthouse or who knows what, but it's more open air. So I'm going to go with this one as our backdrop. Okay, so let me make sure I've got that one handy. This is going to be under the end scene. And it's this one right here. Okay. All right, so we can close Paint Shop. Now, before we go into iClone, we're gonna create our character. If you watched the stream last time, we used kind of just a stock, I think it was Camilla character. And, well, we want to actually make the real deal. Unsaved project data found. No, that's fine. Don't need to do that. That's probably a result of I had character creator already open when things crashed or froze. Computer seems fine, by the way. I've got 32 gigs of RAM on this machine. That is like so much compared to, maybe that's just old school thinking or something. But when I got it, I thought 32, wow. I should be able to do whatever I want to on that. But there was a recent video that I edited that had lots and lots of compositing, and DaVinci Resolve was just really struggling. And then there's certain operations in iClone and in Character Creator 4. And I think that the area that might yield some improvement would be RAM, memory. So I'm probably going to look into seeing what it would take to get this computer on 64 gigs of RAM. See what happens. Maybe even more. Depends on what the pricing is. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, we want to create a new character. Now, we do not need to worry at all about the face of this character because she's going to be facing the other direction. So, we are going to go with a female character, and I think a good place as a starting point will be under this human anatomy category. And there's actually only only 3 females in here, or 4. Yeah, there's 4 total. I don't think the heavy or the old are appropriate here. The Asian is this model is a very kind of a diminutive, smaller bodied, smaller framed character. I don't want it to be necessarily bulked out, but I don't want it to be tiny either. So I think we're going to start with female athletic, and this is where our little privacy screen is going to come in handy. We'll open her up. Yeah, this system has solid-state drives on it. It's got a nice processor, an i9. So I think RAM might be where I can get some more out of it. Okay, so that's her. She's very bulky and very muscular. We're probably going to slim her down a bit. But let's get some clothes on her so we can take down the privacy screen. There is a set of shirt and pants that I picked up on Reallusion Marketplace that I thought were really good for this. So we're going to put those pants and shirt on her. And there we go. Now we can deal with it regular. The human anatomy models in iClone, I mean, they're not, trying to be a little discreet here, they're not fully anatomically complete, but they're pretty close. So anyway, so now she's got some clothes. We're probably going to recolor these clothes a little bit. But let's take a look at the body morphs. And probably all we want to do is, there's one called thin, body thin. I want to make her just, you know, you figure she's wandering the wasteland. She's probably not eating like a Instagram influencer, bodybuilder type. So we want to thin her out a bit. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. See, the arms are a little bit less bulky. Her abs are really well formed, but we won't see that, so I'm not worried about that. So I think that's going to work well. All right, let's look into some hair. So if we go over here to hair, let's clear our search field. And let's see, hair builder. Somewhere in here is, maybe it's hair elements is where you can kind of more piece the hair together. I think that's what we want to do. Yeah, something like this where there's some hair up top. Let's get in a little closer here. Yeah. We're looking for a little bit kind of slightly post-apocalypse. So maybe some kind of a long ponytail. Yeah, that fits together nice. There's a little bit of a gap there, but we won't see that from behind. And then her head is a little bit too clean. So somewhere in here we should be able to find some scalps. Yeah. So let's use scalp female. We want to add, not replace hair. Okay. That seems to cover the head pretty well. Kind of some strange lines there, but here's the thing. We're going to go into colorize this a bit, and we're going to make it a little darker. We're talking just about the scalp right now. Make it just a little darker. We're also going to bring its opacity down to kind of give it a sense of somewhat recently shaved. All right, and then we're going to add some little bit more exotic color to the hair. So maybe something like this. And we can color the strand one thing. The root and the end can be colored independently to give it a little bit more realistic fade. Let's make that base a little darker. All right, and then we're going to do a completely different approach on the ponytail. You just shared it with somebody, and very cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, it still seems to connect with people, and certainly, if nothing else, get a laugh out of them, which is good. I feel like we need that, maybe now more than ever, right? These are some crazy times. All right, so we're going to color the root a little darker. We're going to copy this same color, and we're going to put it on the end. And then make the ends a little bit brighter. Like so. So how are we looking now? There we go. That's what we're looking for. Let's color her clothes a little bit. I think I want to give them a little bit of more of a greenish tint, like so. And same thing here. Hey, random guy. Thanks for stopping by. How are you today? Okay. She needs something on her hoofs. Let's get her some shoes. I think I've got some good boots in here somewhere. Where would those be? There's some boots here, but they all look kind of too nice. You know, for wandering around the wasteland, that seems like a little too nice. I think these are a little bit less shiny. They say they're made for men, but I don't think that's going to matter. All right, a little bit of clothing clipping through the boot right here. You see that? So boy, they're not great close up, but I think for the shot we're going to do, they're going to work fine. But we got to fix some of this texture overlap stuff, don't we? All right, so there's a few ways we can do that. One is there is something called, where is it? You can do conform, but that's not what I'm thinking of. Cloth layer settings. And this is where, you know, stuff like this can get sorted out. So if we were to run collision, Alright, so you see what's happened there. It's run collision, assuming that the pants are higher than the boots. And higher means that's going to go on the outside when you run collision. So I've just dragged it to where now the boots are on top. That means the boots should be the outermost layer. Let's run collision again and see what happens. If we did need to do more than this, we can actually correct the mesh. Doesn't look like it's really improved. Let's try running it again. Okay, that's moving in the right direction. Sometimes you have to run this a few times to get the result. These are just not good looking boots. I don't know how much of that is the collision stuff, having screwed stuff up, but I mean, look at the backs now. They look all distorted, and that's what we're going to be seeing. That's going to bug me. Let's undo some of these. Yeah, it's distorting a little bit too much. So we're going to go back to the original. So the toes are a little scuffed up. Those just haven't really conformed to her body very well, have they? I think that's why it's distorted. So we've got the shoes selected. Let's try using conform here. And we don't want to make them loose fitting. All right, let's calculate collision and see what happens. Alright, it didn't screw up the outside this time. The toes are still a mess. I don't suppose that matters for this. If these were going to be seen from anywhere other than behind, that would be an issue. But we're just looking for anything that's going to be visible from behind. And I think all the problems with these shoes are on the toes, and we're never going to see those. That's not great. So let's do some edit mesh and see if we can maybe pull some of that stuff out. We're going to go to sculpt. Hey Phil, welcome. Are you a Phil or a Philip? Do you have a preference? We're going to try pulling just a little bit to try and get the shoe well and truly outside the pants. And again, we really only have concern from the back. Yeah, me too. I'm officially a Philip, but I've always preferred Phil. My dad's a Phil too, so maybe that's why. All right. Is there anything else that jumps out to us about these? That still just really looks crummy. Let's do a little bit more. Do I not have the shoes selected anymore? I don't. Okay. That's why the mesh wasn't showing up. Okay. little smaller radius. I'm not super confident that that's going well. There's something weird going on here. A little overlap. Let's see if we move this vertex a bit. All right, I may try smooth next. Thank you for that. Really weird. Oh. Let's do this. Oh, those are weird. It's a mess. They do look comfy, that's for sure. Oh, what am I doing? I don't need to do that. I need to go wireframe, I think. All right, so now... All right, so this is the... Maybe if we select the face, we could see where its corner is. Right there. Whoop. That's the vertex right there. I think. Okay. There we go. At least it's not overlapping anymore. Okay, this is tedious, but I think we're almost done here. All right, let's see if we've done anything at all to help that or not. We're going to make pants and person visible. Okay, that's passable at least. I'm thinking we finish it up with a little bit of smoothing, as Phil suggested. Yeah, it still intersects a little bit, but I don't think that's going to matter. All right. Smooth. Do we have any similar problems over here? No, not really. Let's twirl her around where we can get some good light on her for a moment. Just make sure nothing really stands out there. Does look a little jagged over here, doesn't it? Yeah, I think we need to do similar repair here. You just rub it all over. That sounds a little personal. But you talk about with the smoothing tool? Why don't we try that this time? Maybe it'll be a little less tedium than what I was doing. That is pretty magical. Because it's okay if it intersects a little bit. It's just, it needs to not do so in like a really jagged and uneven way. We're getting close. Let's do some more pull. And then some smooth. Hey, Corance. No, I have not heard of monkey dust. I do like sketch comedy stuff. That's for sure. As I've gotten older and having kids, it's just kind of, it hasn't been a conscious choice. It's just kind of naturally, I'm a little less enthusiastic about really crass humor than I was as a younger man. It's not that I have no tolerance for it at all or anything, but I do still find South Park very funny, so I suppose that if that's the barometer, then I would be okay. All right, and this side doesn't need as much smoothing. All right. Okay, at the distance we're going to be, any further work here would be pretty ridiculous. Okay, let's turn her back around. And let's go ahead and save her, and then we're going to bring her over into iClone. That's where we'll outfit her with any accessories that we need and that kind of thing. All right, so into content, custom, actor, character, ZS. We're going to name her Apocalypse Girl. And save. Apocalypse Girl. Oh, your aunt broke her ankle. That is rough. Is she older? Falls and bone breaks and stuff like that. Man, for people that are older, that is rough business. I'm going to fire up iClone here. Bear with me just a moment. 53? I hope that's not old. Might be compared to you. But, that being said, yeah, if I broke my ankle at my age, which is pretty darn close to that, I've never broken a bone in my life. Been very fortunate there, so. But yeah, I would think an ankle would be really rough. We don't need unsaved changes. All right, let's load up our project. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, Carance. I hope she gets on the mend soon. All right, this is our stand-in character and the dog. So let's go ahead and first get the appropriate person in here. And that is Apocalypse Girl. Pop her right there. And let's twist her around. Just to be approximately the same starting spot. We're going to tweak all this, obviously, once we get the backdrop in there. And then we can find Camilla and get her out of the scene. And let's just save real quick. Your wife made your dog break your bone, man. That's a... You gotta... if it's not too personal, you gotta tell us more than that, man. That's a story. My imagination's going a little wild. I'm gonna turn off the webcam because it goes crazy here. But I'm still here. All right, so this is our scene. And now we want to try out yet another tip that Phil clued us in on, and that is to click and drag an image into iClone and have it just make the backdrop prop for you. Let's see. I didn't even test it since you told me. I've been saving it for this, so let's check it out and see how it works. This is a 16:9 aspect ratio image. Okay. So I see what it did. I think it made it... What did it do? That's interesting because I'm looking in the scene and it doesn't show up as an object. So it doesn't create an actual prop. it makes it a background image. I don't even know where that is stored. That's interesting. Because I know about image layer, but usually image layer, it's like on top of the, it stays with the camera, and you would have to have a mask or have PNG transparency to see through it. So stuff like the, there's one that looks like you're behind the wheel of a car, those kind of things. This is something different, and it doesn't show up in the, So where does it put that? All right, walking our dog at night. Dog loved to chase a flashlight. Oh, I've shown it all around this open field, and it crossed my path. So did the dog. Oh. Broke your elbow. That's smarts just thinking about it. So this is not a Chihuahua. This is a bigger boned animal, I take it. Yeah, it sounds like fun. All right, so I'm still not sure where it put this image when I dragged it in, but I don't know that it matters because this is perfect. Like, even the shadows are still working. So this is super handy. This is exactly what we would want. Smaller dog, but stocky and thick. Yeah, almost everyone I know has broken a bone at some point, and it doesn't sound like that I missed anything I would want to miss, or that I wouldn't want to miss. It doesn't sound pleasant. Apart from just the, I mean, no one's a fan of pain, of course, but the long recovery, it seems like, would really be frustrating. Really, of almost anything that you could break, And it still clicks to this day, yeah. My dad broke his knee playing baseball his senior year of high school, so many years ago. Had some kind of bolt put through it and stuff. I mean, it was... And, yeah, it still kind of clicks in a funny way, and every once in a while... I think at least once he had to go get something in there replaced. Apparently whatever they put in there had an expiration date on it or something. That's kind of freaky. But yeah, he was sliding into home plate and got tangled up with the catcher in just the wrong way, and yeah, just destroyed his knee and his hopes to play baseball professionally. Which, when he talks about that, there's always kind of a little bit of sadness. But at the same time, he wouldn't have met my mom if he hadn't been on those crutches and those had taken him to a different place. So I'm maybe a little less sad about that than he is, because I would not exist. All right, so we've got them positioned pretty much where we want them. Let's create a camera. We'll just keep it named camera. We're probably going to tweak it and stuff. Now, in the last stream, I brought in this dog. And I wasn't sure how to animate it, because when I go into edit motion layer, all I was seeing was this thing. All right, so a couple things that I've learned. One is, this is the same thing as the visual bone selector you get for a person. Like, let's look at, if we select her and do edit motion layer, shows the skeleton, and you get this little visual diagram here, which is just, that's just what I'm used to. And you can do stuff to, you know, reposition limbs or whatever, right? But this is a non-human character, so they don't have the visual thingy, because they would, I guess, have to do that for every type of animal. But you can still select bones, and it seems like there's some limitations on whether or not you can move them. Like, I can't move this bone, but I'm pretty sure all the ones that I tested, you can rotate. So given that, we should be able to pose this dog however we want. Now, the other thing is that this dog came with a perform list, is what it's called. That is basically when you've created a character for iClone, you can kind of bundle a set of animations, and they'll ride along with this character, and then you can invoke them through that perform menu. I hope I've explained that right. I don't really use that feature for human characters. I just go into the library and pull animations over and stuff like that. But for this type of non-standard or non-human, non-bipedal character, that's hugely helpful to have those right here, because you can't just pull a human animation out of the library and track it onto a dog or an elephant or whatever. Jabba the Hutt, whatever you're working with. So to have those as performances, the perform menu is really helpful. Well, this one had a perform menu. And look at that, all this stuff. Now, what's interesting is when I went into the perform menu for this dog, I don't know how it happened, but all the paths to the motion files were wrong. They had the wrong base. I'm not sure why that happened. It could be that I installed this dog and then later had moved the location of my Reallusion custom folder. I don't know. It's probably something like that, where it was installed at one point and then I moved my library to a different drive because I needed more space. Anyhow, once I figured out that's what's going on, I found the actual location of all these animations. They were all in a folder, and I updated the paths of all these. And it was actually really easy to do that. You can just go and add, and then you browse to them, and you can select them all at once, add them in, and then you just delete the ones with the invalid paths. And the end result is now we've got a perform menu where we can, you know, invoke an animation just like that. So, rather than going and posing individual bones to try and get this fella to do things, what we'll do is find an animation that makes sense and pause it at the appropriate frame. You know, that to me just, I'm assuming that all the animations for this, I think it's safe to assume they're probably going to be of decent quality. This was an asset that I bought, not just something, you know, downloaded somewhere. You had to recreate the perform list recently too? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I stumbled upon it. I thought, sure, I was going to have to go try and search for it online, and that can be challenging sometimes. You know, because really it's just other people saying stuff, and you got to know what search terms to do. And so I was prepping to do that, but in Character Creator, you know, there's a little perform menu down at the bottom right there on the pose screen. And I just, something in me clicked of something that I'd read in the manual at some point, I guess, and I went and checked it and thought, oh, cool. But then I tried to run them, and of course they wouldn't run, and it said the path was wrong. So it took me a little bit of just logically trying to figure out why that was. And yeah, I'm grateful for situations where I get stuck like that, because now I know that, and any future character. I wish I had known it when I was making Heir to the Empire, because it would have made... I would have done a perform list for some of the non-standard characters in that, and saved myself a little bit of trouble. Jabba the Hutt was one in particular. There was no perform list, but I think if I had dug a little deeper, I could have figured out how to create one by at least saving some poses or doing some... Anyway, and that was a very non-standard character. I was just fortunate that it actually had some bones in it to move anything. You think it might be a iClone 8 bug that, like, it didn't update that perform list appropriately, or didn't store them right? Because it stored it to a default library location on the C drive under, like, users public, which I've never used. So yeah, maybe it is a bug. It might be something with... I wouldn't think it's with the way that the person created the asset. But you would think that those things would be relative paths, not full paths. That would make the most sense. Relative paths, like what are used in, like, you know, for web references a lot of times on a web page. Anyway. You don't cry in Machinima. That's right. There is no crying in Machinima. All right, so we've got a perform list for this dog, so let's start with him and see if we can find a good pose. I kind of like that. He's in the middle of moving. Let's go over to the animation screen. And yeah, just a little bit of a sense of him moving. So we're going to break that. And then we can get rid of this. Get rid of this. And drag this all the way over to the beginning. Is this where we... Okay, that's where we positioned him. So let's go ahead and bring that back to the beginning as well. And this as well. Actually, I'm going to position this at frame 60. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of buffer for the physics on the hair. What I mean by that is that the physics on the hair in frame 0, when you begin playing it, gravity's going to kick in and it's going to move a little bit, or that type of thing. And we want that to have elapsed by the time we get to the frame that we're going to render. I hope that makes sense. I'm actually not 100% sure how to do that. Okay, discard simulating frames. So I think that's what we want to do. Now if we go to image, we don't get that option. So maybe I'm not understanding this properly, but just for safety's sake, that's what we're going to do is have it start a little bit in here. And that's a good pose for him, except I want to bring him back a little bit. Okay, and maybe change his angle just a little bit too. I'm not too worried about the shadows because we haven't done the lighting yet. We're going to worry about that second. Do they look the right size? They may need to be a little larger. Unless they're just further down the road. Yeah, that seems right. All right, let's find some kind of pose for her. So, it doesn't need to be anything super special here. So, let's see if there's anything amongst the poses. Would I ever want to meet Tommy Wiseau in person? I'm not sure I know who that is. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm not able to place it. If we go to pose and female. Okay, so the walk is a good candidate. That's actually the only one that makes sense out of these. So let's try that. All right, it flipped her around. All right, so that's a little bit too much stride, but... Oh, and it's a pose. All right, but we can adjust it. That's fine. Okay. All right, let's lock in our camera so we don't lose this here. And then we'll go back to preview. The director of The Room. I don't know, what would... Is there a reason that I wouldn't want to? I'm not, like, terribly interested in meeting them as a person, but is there, like, a reason why I wouldn't want to do that? You know what I'm saying? Let's zoom out here, because she's moving. I want to find out why. Fit to window. Okay, no, she's not. Is my camera moving? It is. Okay, so let's confirm our camera position. Frame 60. That's what we want. We don't want this keyframe. There we go. All right, back to preview. It's not a bad pose. Yeah, the Beetlejuice sequel. I've heard from some people that that went to see that expected to not like it and were at least somewhat pleasantly surprised. That's pretty cool. You know what? Honestly, I think her pose works. I think that works. Now, we've got a couple things to do with her. One is there is a backpack that I'd like to see about putting on her. And it has a pose that I made for it. So I need to blend that pose with her walk pose. And I can't remember exactly how to do that, but let's get the props in place. We're going to figure it out together, I think. All right, so under custom props. There we go. Backpack. And let's go ahead and bring in... Somewhere in here is a rifle that I liked. Or a gun of some kind. No, not the sniper rifle. Maybe it's under custom. Blaster rifle. No, that's one that I did for that Star Wars thing. Maybe it's under sci-fi props. There we go. Something not too complicated, but... Okay. So we're going to put this on her. It's going to be approximately 180. Friend who's studying at Savannah College of Art and Designs. Very cool. How far along in her studies is she? Did she just begin university, or has she been at it a while? Probably going to darken up that backpack a little bit. It's a little bit too similar in color. Or maybe add a little different color to it or something. Alright, that pistol is very large. So let's twist it around. Let's twist it around. And angle it down a little bit, and then it's huge. Been there since last September. That's the same year that my son is in, and he is studying, well, digital design. Digital design / engineering. He's like way smarter than me, thank goodness. That's what we would want, I suppose, right? It's not a problem that he's smarter than me. It's a problem that he knows it. You know? Alright, we've got to figure out the right angle here to place that in her hand. It's still too big, isn't it? That's more like it. Huh. She's got a... These pants have a texture issue. Fortunately, we won't see it, but... And the keyword being but... There is an issue there and there. So we're going to have to go fix that. We'll do that in a bit. All right, so this is close to the right position. Let's do local move. It's like a sister to you. Very cool. I've always found it's better to be the kind of person who rejoices when your friends do well. Where we resist the more competitive of our impulses to, you know, jealousy and whatnot. It's not a good look. So yeah, that's a good quality as a friend, Grants. You see this here? What the heck is that? It looks like makeup. You see that? Is he shedding? What's happening there? That's following his model around, the dog. In a still shot, it's not going to matter, but that's a weird little quirk there. Okay, now we need to get her pose right, and I would like to be able to use the pose that I already made for this. So if we go to custom animation motion, and I think let's just search for it. It's probably under poses, but let's search for backpack. And yeah, I made this for the backpack. So the part that I'm uncertain about is if I drag this on top of her on the same frame that she's got this pose, it's probably just going to overwrite that somehow. And we want her to do both. So, for starters, I can at least drag it onto a different frame and see what happens. So let's do that. Is it going to pose her whole body or just the arm? I can't remember. Yeah, it's the whole body. All right. Let's think here. There's a number of ways to do this. But I think the one I want to try Okay, so we could this is a little, there's only 3 bones affected by this backpack holding thing. And that's this, and this, and then we can do the fingers ourselves. So I think I'm gonna, this, as tedious as this seems, I'm inclined to want to copy this and then paste it over the other pose and do it for each of the bones. The bummer about that is that there's not a way that I know of to copy all 6 of these at once and then paste just that for this bone onto the new one. If there is a way, I'm ignorant to it right now. I know that there's different ways where you can save, you can be in body part mode, but I don't think that, does that affect copy and paste pose? That it only copies the body part? I kind of don't think so. Is my chat not scrolling? My chat's not updating over here. Yeah, sorry I'm not, if my responses aren't good here, I just noticed that not all the chat messages are coming through for me. I'm trying to refresh that right now. Okay, your other aunt's getting married tomorrow. Asked your mother to arrange a bouquet for her. Very cool. You think that phantom thing floating in the air might be eyebrows? Yeah, I think that's sure what it looks like. What it's doing on a dog, I don't know. She now has a front pack. Yes, she does. It's because this pose, of course, twisted her transform around. And then remove left arm motion in that animation. I don't follow what you mean there. I'm sorry. You know what? I could sit here debating with myself over what the best way is, but let's just do it the stupid way. Oh, what happened? Come on, notepad. Did I partake in the Barbenheimer phenomenon last year? No. That's in the timeline options. All right, let's explore that. Barbenheimer. That sounds familiar, but I'm not. I'm getting a 404 in my brain when I try to remember what the Barbenheimer thing is. Can you remind me? Okay, animation. Oh. I see what you're saying. So it's an easy way to break down into the actual bits of the motion layer. Okay, that's handy. It didn't occur to me to do it in this way. But that makes a lot of sense. So we can do it just from right-clicking on the point. Okay, where was it? On the animation. Okay. So if we remove, I'm just going to try it, torso. Because we want to remove everything but the arm affected, right? And it's her right arm that we want to keep, or is it the left arm? Let's wait. Left leg. Right leg. I don't think I'm doing this right. We could do some kind of crossfade blend. Oh, okay. Barbie and Oppenheimer, of course. So no, I did go see both movies, not in the same day, and not really with any acknowledgement of that that online trend, but yeah. Barbie was fun. You know, it is what it is. Oppenheimer was a masterpiece, I think. Pretty phenomenal. It's one that I saw again, not in the theater, but when it became available. My son, because he's, you know, interested in engineering and all of that kind of thing, he was enthusiastic about both movies for very different reasons. But yeah, I really enjoyed Oppenheimer. All right, let's back up a bit here. So we're going through all this trouble when I could just repose the arm. It took me a lot of time to do it the first time, but maybe it won't take so much time this time, because everything else in this pose is right on. So let's not... We'll learn a new feature some other time. Let's edit her motion layer. Select the arm. And let's see. Bring it a little forward. Bring the elbow up. The arm really mangles when I do this, but fortunately it doesn't have to be seen from the side or anything. The wrist angled in and like so. Back to the shoulder. Okay. Elbow. Look at that. We're pretty close already. That's pretty... I think that's the right position of the arm and hand. Yeah, the arm looks wonky there. So we need to probably rotate it in a little bit more. No, not at all. I think you've referenced a feature that I'm just ignorant about. I'm in that learn this thing as you go mode, and moments like these remind me I'm still pretty early in that process, but that's okay. I try to bear in mind just how little I knew not too long ago compared to I know a bit more now, you know, to get some stuff done. So I will I'll revisit that and learn that. I need to learn how to blend animations. I know that it's doable. I've actually watched whoever the main tutorial guy is at Reallusion that recorded most of the official ones. I've watched almost everything he made, and I remember seeing something about that. But the first time I watched those, I didn't have the software open. I was like just watching them on my TV or on my phone or whatever, and just trying to soak up information. And that works good for certain types of knowledge, and maybe not so good for others. All right, we'll have to expand her thumb out a bit. There we go. Okay, for the angle that we're doing here, this may just be right. Okay, so the only problem is we can see the strap clipping through her arm. So that means I'm going to need to bring the backpack over a little bit and then reposition the hand again. Like so. And like so. Okay. And then maybe we can actually move her hand to the right place, not rotate. Okay, so we bring the arm in a little bit, up a little bit, and then the rest we're going to have to do with the rotate, I guess. Like so. What is that sticking up there? Is that her finger? It's her thumb. Okay, good. That's not hard to fix. All right. Boom. Yeah, motion director. There've been a couple instances where I've just popped in and used that, but only in a very simple scenario, like just to get somebody to walk a mostly straight line and stuff. But there's so much advanced stuff available with that. It's crazy. Like crazy in a good way, I think, ultimately. But yeah, it's a very powerful tool for sure. But I don't feel like I know enough about it yet. Okay, come on. Is that better? Okay. Let's change the angle of her head a little bit. I like it. All right, we got to fix her clothes, I think. Or see if there's any spots that are visible. I mean, this here, that's not going to be easy to fix. Because it's being exposed by the particular pose that we've got. Probably some of it is the arm is... You know, look at that poor elbow. That's yeah. That looks painful. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. It's not really visible from behind. And like the holes that were showing up in the pants, well, there is one there. So yeah, we'll go in and fix her in Character Creator real quick. Fix what we can. So we'll save this. All right, so if we select her and edit in character creator, I assume it brings the outfit with, right? Probably won't bring the accessories because I haven't attached them to her. And hopefully it won't mess up our animation. Okay, good. All right, so the only one that we needed to worry about is the pants. So we're going to select the pants. And we want the hide body mesh tool. I think that's the easiest way to get this done. And these pants don't have any hide body mesh turned on for them. So we will, let's see. Probably should use our privacy screen. But I think we can pass okay with this. All right, so we want to ignore back faces. And let's try this again from about here to about here. What we're doing here is defining which polys of the body should be turned invisible, which faces of the mesh of the body should be turned invisible when this clothing is on. And we don't really need to do it from the front, I guess, but let's do just in case there's anything that wraps around. Or no, we should do it from the sides. So let's do it from the sides. So about right there to there. Well, I guess that's fine. All those are okay to hide. And then we do it from the other side. About like so. A little bit higher. Everything okay? Yeah. So let's hide those. Okay. I think that will... Oh. Ha! We got the hands caught up in that. All right, so we want pose, T-pose. Let's go back in here. And we don't need to ignore back faces. We're going to select this and say show. And select this and say show. Then we can be done with that. Motion. Okay. So I think now what we do is send this back to iClone. Is that right? Where is that button? Export iAvatar. Brings back. Yeah, that was my concern too. All right, so let's save this one more time, just to be sure. I thought that there was a send to iClone button. Am I just being stupid here? Or do we just save it? Oh, maybe I have to have her selected? I feel like it's like right in front of me, smacking me in the face. Export iAvatar. I think that would just save it, right? Render, preview, upload to Sketchfab. Am I? Oh, there it is. It is right in front of me. All right. Did it nix our animations? What do you think? That sucks. If I say no, it's not going to do the changes that we did, right? I don't want to redo that again. I'm going to say no. But you know what's interesting? I don't see the hole in the pants anymore. Isn't that weird? How'd that happen? It seems to have fixed the problem. There was like a missing face right around here with skin showing through, and now it's not. How crazy is that? I said no. So the no just applied to the animation? Oh, try it later in the timeline? It seems like it fixed the problem we wanted to. I don't understand it at all. Because I think your warning was right on the money. That is exactly what would have happened. We didn't fix the shirt, so the shirt still got its hole in it, but the pants do not anymore. It was like right here on this cheek. That's crazy. I don't get it. But we're going to just... We're just going to accept it and say thanks. So we're on frame 64 now. Let's move our dog up. That's the frame we want him at. And this is the frame that she's at. And actually, let's just, for now, make that the start of the project. Okay. There is some visible showing through the shirt there. So, but this is going to be a still image. So here's how I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to go in and fix that with an image editor. Because with this skimpy top and all that, I just don't want to mess with it. And not to mention definitely the privacy filter would have to be engaged there, because that part of her is pretty well defined. So I'm gonna either fix that off stream, or in this case we're generating a still image, so I think what I'm gonna do is just not sweat that and just do it with Photoshop. All right, so let's start thinking about lighting, because we've got about 10 minutes left. And yeah, did I find a new feature? I'm going to have to experiment with that more and figure that out. That is a really weird thing. It's not what I would have expected at all. Okay. lighting. So let's take a look here. The sun is this way, so clearly the shadows need to fall this direction. And we can see that's pretty much the case with the way that this is lit, the telephone pole. You can kind of see the shadows from the bus and all that going this way. The cars, this is the side that's shaded. So yeah, we need to think about it as the light coming from that direction for her and the dog. And we definitely need the shadows to be darker than they are now. So we've got 3 lights in the scene. These are the default lights in the scene. We're going to deactivate the side and back light and just focus on one at a time. So this is what's called the key light. We're going to make it visible, and that way we can rotate this as an object. Let's do a color. So that's the sun. It's pretty bright, but there's a little bit of red to that light. So we're going to give our light just a little bit of red. And then we do have shadows. That's good. We'll play with the shadow darkness in a moment. But for now, we're going to at least get it pointed the right way. Something like that. Okay. It's not exactly in perspective with the sun, but we need to think about how it's going to look too. You see how we can see the edge of the light there. So if we did it completely accurate, we wouldn't get much benefit from it. So we're going to turn it a little bit more this way. And let's just try cranking it up a little bit. Okay, wow, I like that. Because it does look like a bright sun, doesn't it? So we can really... It helps define this edge of both of them very nicely when that's a little brighter than what we would expect. So let's tweak the color a little more. I want a little bit more of a color to the light. Let's crank it a little more. Yeah. Man, that looks good. All right, we want to control the darkness of the shadows. Let's just, I'm pulling it all the way so we can see the max possibility here. There we can see the shadows. Now, it doesn't just control the darkness of the shadows on the ground, but also the shadows on the characters themselves. So we've got to kind of balance that. Because if we completely engulf them in shadow, we lose some color, which maybe is okay. But we don't want to lose it all. It's a little too stark. So we want to kind of match. You see, this is reflective color here. Actually, I'm gonna stop for a second because I don't think we've got global illumination turned on. We don't. And we want that. That's going to help us with that additional color a little bit. The global illumination has to do with light bouncing around off of other surfaces, and we don't get the full benefit of that because it's just a backdrop. So there's not actually any objects here that are bouncing light back, but they themselves will bounce light a little bit more when global illumination is on. So that helps us. All right, we don't want too much of it. We don't want too much at all. Okay. So back to our light here. Wonder if there's a way that I can make the ground shadows a little darker without making their shadows darker. I'm going to check that here. They definitely need to have some shadows. All right, so I mean, that looks pretty good. It's not bad. So one thing I might be able to do, and I can't remember if this is you that showed me this, Phil, or if it was someone else, one of our cohorts. I seem to remember that there's a way to exclude an object from particular effects, like on a very, very granular, very specific basis, to where you could have some light that affects all the other things in the scene, for example, but you can select certain objects or certain, things in the scene and kind of like negate it to where it doesn't affect them. And if I wanted darker shadows here, I suppose what I could do is try experimenting with something like that with one of the other lights. The other thing I could do is go ahead and darken up the shadows, but then use a backlight to bring back some of the illumination from behind on them. And that seems like maybe a little more feasible. So let's take our backlight and turn it on, and let's bring it around to behind them. We don't want it to be quite so colorful. This needs to be a little bit more of a bland light, maybe slight green. And we don't want shadows from this light. This light is more of a kind of a fill. Not a fill like you and I, but F-I-L-L. Okay? So if we do that, and then we go back to the key light and make the shadows darker, that helps offset some of the illumination that we've lost of the back of them. See that? If we turn off the backlight, yeah, they're too shadowy compared to, let's say, this stuff. So with this backlight on, it brings some of that back and makes them, I think, blend in a little better. I think maybe I'm gonna turn the shadows on this, because the shadows aren't casting on the ground, it's just creating a little bit more light definition on them. Don't do that. 155. Yeah. Let's compromise that. 180. Okay, I love this lighting. I think it really works. The only thing I want to do is the gun is completely invisible right now. So what I want to do is change the angle of that, the way she's holding that pistol, so that we'll see it from behind her. So let's open up our mini viewport and switch to our real camera. Can't really see it very well. There we go. Okay, just to give us an idea of our angle there, we're going to select her. We're going to edit her motion layer. And we want the hand. Oh, stop. we're going to attach this to the hand first. Pick parent. Let's see if it grabs her hand like so. Yes. Now we can go to her edit motion layer. Select that hand. Rotate. Let's see if we can get it a little more visible. All right, that does work, but well, let's look at it from behind. From here, you can tell it's not lined up properly with her hand, but I think from behind, you can kind of tell. The fingers probably need some adjustment. Okay. So let's select the gun. Let's see if we can get that a little better in place. And I'm thinking, if we edit some fingers here. Just the last final details here. So let's start by just closing her hand. But then we're going to extend the one finger. This is so stupid. There's no way anybody's going to see this. What am I doing? This is so dumb. I can't help it. I've got a problem. I've got a problem. I need help. This is so dumb. This is the dumbest thing I've ever done. Oh my god. Yes. Not quite on the trigger. Oh my god, I'm an idiot. Oh. Is she aiming at the dog's head? No. Yeah, she's good. We're good. We're good. I do love them eyebrows and facial hair. Look at that. Look at that. What the hell? It's like not a separate object to select. So what do you think that is? Did they... Is that supposed to be on his face? I mean, he's hairless up there, pretty much. It kind of looks like it would be whiskers. That's really weird. That's dog makeup. That's dog makeup. Somehow, it's not following along with the animation. How weird is that? How do you even do something like that? I'm not at all sure. However, I'm liking this a lot. So that's our farewell scene. That's it. That's a keeper. All right. Did I? 8 point... No, I'm still on 8.42. I thought I must... I've got a second license at home. And I think that's the one that I did the upgrade on. There's a new 8.5 bug. Oh, you thought that might be related to this here. Yeah, no, this is, I'm still on 8 on the version right before that. I plan to upgrade to 8.5 later today. Yeah, I wonder if that's a bug with iClone or if it's a bug with the asset. You know what? We could find out. Let's do that. We'll wrap up with this. Let's go into Character Creator. Create a new project. And let's find our fella. The Germans. Okay, those are motions. Why does it show as not downloaded? Do you have to download them separately into Character Creator than you do in iClone, I guess, right? Why did I think that wasn't the case? Maybe it's because for custom assets, it will index and bring those in automatically, but ones that you've bought through the store. Okay, that makes sense. All right, so let's open this fella up and see. Oh. There's the avatar. Okay. So, in his default pose, does that look like the same dog? Is that the same dog? That doesn't look like the same dog. Do I have this guy under custom? I do. How did it end up under there, I wonder? That looks like our guy, doesn't it? Huh. So this is a separate one. How goofy is that? I bought a German Shepherd from the content store, but I must have downloaded a different one somewhere, and I used the free one instead of the good one. But there's his hair. They're not lined up right. The eyebrows aren't right. None of this is attached to where it's supposed to be. I think this might be a defect in the asset. And then if we go to perform, let's just have them lay down. Yeah. So it could be a program bug, or it could be a bug with the asset. I certainly haven't seen anybody else that doesn't have their facial hair and such detached properly. But I don't know enough about how these characters are made to know even how that would happen, how you would do that. Pretty wild. But yeah, it's not the one through Marketplace that's like this. The one through Marketplace doesn't seem to have any hair on it at all. So yeah, it's weird. I like this model of dog better than the one that I bought. The skin's a little better too, I think. Yeah, you just got to live with the fact that his hair just kind of, that he's shedding in a very, very specific facial way. He's shedding. All right, that's going to do it for today. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. Shedding eyebrows, that's right. So, no stream on Tuesday. But pretty much my schedule on streaming is going to be Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock GMT. But this Tuesday, I'm going to a baseball game in Miami with my dad, so won't be any stream that night, but I'll be back on Thursday. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and have a great rest of your day.